My name is Emma. You are about to hear a story about betrayal, but not the kind you think. My parents did not steal my money. They did not spread rumors about me. They stole my daughter. They erased me from her life. And then they came to my wedding like nothing happened, so I gave them a gift they never saw coming. My name is Emma, and this is my story. It started on a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday that feels like any other. I was 29 years old, standing in my tiny kitchen in Austin, Texas, stirring a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. My fiancé, Marcus, was at work. He is a good man, the best. He has these big, gentle hands that have never hurt anyone, and a laugh that makes you forget the world has any darkness in it. I was supposed to be happy, and for the most part, I was. But there was a secret sitting between us, a secret I had kept for 7 years. It was a secret about a little girl. My little girl. A child my ex-husband, Derek, had taken from me so completely that sometimes I wondered if she had ever been real at all. Her name is Lily. She would be 8 years old now. I have not seen her face in 6 years. I have not heard her voice. I only have a single photograph, faded and creased, that I keep hidden in a box under my bed. In the picture, she is 2 years old, sitting in a purple plastic sandbox, wearing a yellow sundress. She is smiling at something off camera, maybe a butterfly, maybe the sun. I look at that photograph every night before I sleep. It is the only thing that reminds me I am still a mother. Marcus knew I had been married before. He knew it was bad. He knew there was a court case, a lot of legal fighting, and that I had come out of it with nothing but scars. But he did not know about Lily. I told myself I would tell him. I planned the perfect moment 100 times, over a candle-lit dinner, on a quiet walk by the river. After we made love, when our hearts were beating together. But every time I opened my mouth, the words turned to dust. How do you tell the man you love that you have a child you are not allowed to see? How do you explain that the legal system, the same system meant to protect the innocent, failed you so completely that your own daughter was erased from your life? Derek was a powerful man. His family owned half the real estate in Dallas. They had money, connections, and a team of lawyers who treated the law like a toy. When we divorced, he did not want Lily because he loved her. He wanted her because he knew it would destroy me, and it did. He took me to court and painted me as unstable, as unfit. He used my postpartum depression against me. He used the fact that I had once seen a therapist for anxiety. He twisted every good thing into a weapon. The judge, an old friend of Derek's father, ruled that Derek would have sole custody. I was given supervised visitation, 1 hour a month, in a gray room with a social worker watching through a two-way mirror. Then, after 6 months, even that was taken away. Derek claimed I had said something threatening to Lily. I had not. I had simply told her I loved her. I had whispered, "Mommy will always come back," but that was enough. A judge signed an order. No contact, no calls, no letters, no photographs. I was legally erased from my daughter's life. And Derek made sure that every attempt I made to fight back was buried in legal fees I could not afford. I was a waitress then. I cleaned houses on the weekends. I sold my wedding ring for $300 to pay for a lawyer who dropped my case after 2 weeks. So I stopped fighting. I moved to Austin to start over. I changed my phone number. I stopped looking at Lily's face on the tiny screen of my phone because Derek had blocked me from her school's website, from her photos, from everything. I tried to build a new life. I met Marcus. I fell in love again, and I convinced myself that the past could stay in the past, that I could be Emma again, not just the broken mother who lost her child. But secrets have a way of growing in the dark. They take root in your bones, and eventually they start to show. The call came on a Wednesday. It was my mother, Patricia. My parents live in a suburb outside of Houston. They are retired now. My father, Bill, spent 30 years as an insurance adjuster. They are the kind of people who believe in order, in rules, in keeping up appearances. They never liked Derek, but they never really helped me fight him either. My mother would say, "Emma, you have to let go, for your own sanity." My father would say, "The court made its decision. You have to respect that." They visited me in that gray room once during my supervised visitation. My mother cried. My father stood by the door, checking his watch. They never came again. "Emma, darling," my mother said on the phone, her voice bright and airy, as if she were calling to discuss a recipe. "Your father and I have something important to tell you." "About the wedding?" I felt a chill. Marcus and I had set the date for June 15th. It was April now. The invitations were already sent. The venue was booked. My dress was hanging in my closet, a simple white lace thing that made me feel beautiful for the first time in years. "What is it, Mom?" "We think you should invite Derek." I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought it was a joke. "Excuse me?" "Derek has changed, Emma. He reached out to us. He said he wants to make amends. He said he's been going to therapy. He wants to be there for you on your special day." Her voice was so calm, so reasonable, like she was suggesting I add an extra appetizer to the menu. "Mom, Derek took my daughter from me. He destroyed my life. Why would you even talk to him?" "Because he's Lily's father, sweetheart, and Lily is your daughter too, we thought. Maybe if you and Derek could find a way to be civil, maybe he would let you see her again. We're just trying to help." My hand was shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. "You had no right to talk to him. No right. Stay out of my life, Mom. Stay out of my wedding." I hung up. I stood in my kitchen, my heart pounding, and I felt that old familiar rage rising in my chest. The rage I had buried for years. The rage that had turned into a dull ache and then into a numb acceptance. But now it was back, hot and bright. My parents had crossed a line, and they did not even know it. But that was not the betrayal. Not yet. The real betrayal came 4 days later, and it came from Marcus. He came home from work early. I was on the couch, watching some mindless television show, trying to forget my mother's call. He sat down next to me, and his face was strange. Not angry, not sad, something else. Something I could not name. "Emma," he said, "we need to talk." My stomach dropped. Those 3 words are never good. "Okay, your parents came to see me today, at my office." The blood in my veins turned to ice. "What?" "Why, they told me something you should have told me a long time ago." I knew. In that moment, I knew exactly what they had done. My parents, my own mother and father, had taken my deepest, most painful secret and laid it at Marcus's feet like an offering. They had told him about Lily, about Derek, about the court case. They had taken away my right to tell my own story in my own time. I started crying before he even finished the sentence. Silent tears. The kind that come from a place so deep you cannot stop them. "Emma, you have a daughter?" His voice was not angry. It was hurt, confused. "You have a little girl and you never told me. We're getting married in 2 months. We're building a life together. How could you keep something like this from me?" I wanted to explain. I wanted to tell him about the shame, about the fear, about the way my heart shattered every time I thought about Lily's face. I wanted to tell him that I was terrified he would leave me if he knew. That I was terrified he would look at me the way everyone else did, with pity or judgment or both. But all I could do was cry. And that made it worse. "I need some time," Marcus said. He stood up. He walked to the door. "I need to think," and he left. He did not come back that night or the next. He sent me a text message that said, "I'm staying with my brother. I'll call you when I'm ready." And then nothing. Silence. The kind of silence that screams. I called my parents. My mother answered on the second ring, almost as if she had been waiting. "How could you?" I screamed. "How could you go behind my back and tell Marcus about Lily?" That was my story to tell. Mine. "Emma, calm down," my mother said, in that infuriatingly calm voice she uses when she thinks I am being dramatic. "Someone had to tell him, you were never going to, and he has a right to know before he marries you. He has a right to hear it from me. Well, you had 4 years to tell him, and you didn't. So we did what we thought was best." My father's voice came on the line. He had been listening on the extension. "We love you, Emma, but you have a habit of hiding from the truth. We just wanted to make sure Marcus knew what he was signing up for." "What he was signing up for?" I repeated, my voice breaking. "I am not a disease. I am not a damaged good. I am your daughter. And you just destroyed my relationship." "We saved him from a lifetime of secrets," my mother said. "You should thank us." I hung up. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and cracked the screen. I did not care. I sat on the floor of my empty apartment, surrounded by wedding magazines and fabric swatches and a dress I might never wear, and I cried until I had no tears left. That night, I did something I had not done in years. I opened the box under my bed. I took out Lily's photograph. I held it to my chest, and I made a promise, not to Lily, not to myself, to the universe. I promised that if Marcus came back to me, if he gave me another chance, I would never let anyone hurt me like this again. I would never be a victim again, and I would make my parents pay for what they had done. 3 days later, Marcus came back. He walked through the door with red eyes and a sad smile. He sat down across from me at the kitchen table. And he said, "I'm sorry I left. I should have stayed. I should have listened." I told him everything. Not the shortened version, not the version I told myself to survive. I told him the real story. I told him about Derek's cruelty, about the lawyers, about the gray room with the two-way mirror. I told him about the night the sheriff came to my apartment to take Lily away because Derek had filed an emergency order. I told him about the 6 months of supervised visits, about the one time I tried to send Lily a birthday card and it was returned unopened. I told him about the therapist who told me to grieve the loss as if she had died because that was the only way to move forward. I told him about the photograph under my bed. I told him about the dreams I still have, where I am running down a long hallway and Lily is at the end, but every time I get close, the hallway gets longer. Marcus listened. He did not interrupt. He did not offer advice. He just listened. And when I was finished, he took my hands in his big, gentle hands and he said, "Emma, I don't care about any of that. I care about you. I love you. And we are going to get through this together." I believed him, because I had to, because if I could not believe in love, I had nothing left. But I also made a decision. I decided that my parents' betrayal would not go unanswered. I decided that I would smile at them, hug them, let them come to the wedding, let them play the role of loving mother and father. And then, when the moment was right, I would destroy them. Not with violence, not with cruelty, with the truth. With the one thing they feared most, exposure. My parents are not bad people, not in the way Derek is bad. They are worse. They are good people who do bad things and convince themselves it is for the right reasons. They told Marcus about Lily because they genuinely believed they were protecting him. They did not see it as betrayal. They saw it as honesty. And that is the most dangerous kind of person, the one who thinks they are the hero of the story when they are really the villain. So I started planning. Not revenge in the Hollywood sense. No elaborate schemes, no fake identities, no dramatic confrontations in the rain. My revenge was simpler, it was quieter, and it was more devastating. I called my parents the next day. I apologized. I told them I had overreacted, that I understood they were just trying to help, that I was grateful they had told Marcus because it had brought us closer. My mother cried with relief. My father said, "That's our girl." They believed me. Of course they did, because they wanted to believe. Because admitting that their daughter hated them would require a level of self-reflection they were not capable of. I invited them to dinner at my apartment. I cooked their favorite meal, pot roast with mashed potatoes. I poured wine. I laughed at my father's jokes. I listened to my mother's stories about her garden club. I played the role of the dutiful daughter so perfectly that even I almost believed it. And while I smiled and passed the bread basket, I was cataloging every weakness, every secret, every shameful thing they had ever told me in confidence. I was building a file in my mind, a file I would use when the time was right. My mother once told me that she had an affair 20 years ago, a brief thing with a coworker named Greg. She told me when she was drunk at Christmas, and she made me promise never to tell my father. I never did, but I remembered. My father once confided that he had been fired from his first job out of college for embezzling small amounts of money. Just a few $100s here and there. He said it was a youthful mistake. He said the company agreed not to press charges if he paid it back. He told me this when I was 16, after he caught me shoplifting a lipstick. He said, "We all make mistakes, Emma. The important thing is to learn from them." I remembered. My parents also had a secret about Lily, a secret so dark that I did not even know the full extent of it until Marcus started digging. You see, Marcus is a paralegal. He works for a law firm that specializes in family law, and after he learned about Lily, he started asking questions. Quiet questions. Questions that should have been asked years ago. What he found made me sick. Derek did not win custody of Lily because he had better lawyers. He did not win because the judge was corrupt. He won because my parents helped him. They gave him evidence. They provided affidavits. They told the court under oath that I was unstable, that I had threatened to take Lily and flee the country, that I had a history of substance abuse. None of it was true, but my parents swore it was true, and the judge believed them. My mother later told me, "We thought it was for the best. Derek's family had money, he could give Lily a better life. And you were so young, Emma, you were only 22, we thought you would have other children someday." They gave away my daughter. They handed her to a man who had never changed a diaper, who had never read her a bedtime story, who had never kissed her scraped knee. They handed her over because they thought it was for the best. And then they watched me fall apart, watched me cry myself to sleep for 2 years, watched me move to a new city to escape the memories. And they never said a word. When Marcus told me what he had found, I did not cry. I did not scream. I sat very still, and I felt something inside me break and then reform into something harder, something colder. I had thought my parents' betrayal was telling Marcus about Lily, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. The real betrayal was 7 years old, and it was a betrayal that had stolen my daughter's childhood, my motherhood, my very identity. Now the revenge was not just about me, it was about Lily. It was about the little girl in the yellow sundress who was growing up without her mother. It was about every birthday I missed, every scraped knee I did not kiss, every nightmare I did not soothe. My parents had taken all of that from me, and they would pay. The wedding was 6 weeks away. I threw myself into the planning with a manic energy that Marcus found charming and my parents found heartwarming. I acted like the happiest bride in the world. I went dress shopping with my mother. I let her cry over the veil. I let her give a toast at the engagement party where she said, "Emma has come so far, we are so proud of the woman she has become." I smiled. I hugged her. I whispered, "I love you, Mom." And I meant it. Not in the way she thought, I meant it as a goodbye. My plan was simple. At the wedding rehearsal, the night before the ceremony, there would be a dinner, just close family and the wedding party. It was supposed to be a time for toasts and laughter and happy tears, but I had arranged something different. I had invited a few extra guests, and I had prepared a few words. The week before the rehearsal, I reached out to Derek. I know. You are probably thinking, why would you contact the man who ruined your life? But I had a purpose. I called him, and to my surprise, he answered. "Emma," his voice was cautious. He had not heard from me in years. "Derek," I said, "I'm getting married, and I want you to come to the rehearsal dinner." Silence, then, "Why?" "Because I want to see Lily." More silence. "I don't think that's a good idea." "I'm not asking, I'm telling you. You bring Lily to the rehearsal dinner, or I go to the media. I tell them how you and my parents conspired to steal my daughter. I have evidence, Derek. I have affidavits. I have emails. I have everything." It was a bluff, mostly. Marcus had found some things, but not enough for a court case. But Derek did not know that. Derek had always been paranoid. He had always been afraid of exposure. That was his weakness, his family's precious reputation. "You wouldn't," he said. "Try me," he agreed. He would bring Lily to the rehearsal dinner. He did not know why. He did not know what I was planning. He just knew that I had something on him, and he wanted to keep his secrets buried. I also reached out to Greg, my mother's old coworker. He was retired now, living in Florida. I told him I was writing a family history, and I wanted to include a chapter about my mother's career. He was happy to talk. He remembered the affair. He remembered everything, and he agreed to come to the dinner as my special guest. I reached out to my father's old boss, the man who had fired him for embezzlement. He was a bitter man, still angry after all these years. He agreed to come. He said he had been waiting for a chance to tell the truth, and I reached out to the social worker who had supervised my visits with Lily. Her name was Margaret. She was a kind woman, one of the few kind people in that whole nightmare. She had retired and moved to the coast. She told me she had always felt guilty about what happened. She said she had known Derek was manipulating the system, but her hands were tied. I told her I did not blame her. I asked her to come to the dinner. She said yes. The night of the rehearsal dinner arrived. It was held at a small banquet hall, the kind of place with chandeliers and white tablecloths and waiters in bow ties. My parents arrived early, beaming. My mother wore a lavender dress. My father wore a blue suit. They hugged me and told me how beautiful I looked. Marcus stood beside me, holding my hand. He knew what I was planning. He did not try to stop me. He said, "Do what you need to do, I'm with you." The wedding party filed in. The bridesmaids in their matching dresses, the groomsmen in their rented tuxedos. The room filled with the sound of clinking glasses and happy chatter. And then, the first of my special guests arrived. Greg walked in, looking older and grayer than I remembered, but still with that same easy smile. My mother saw him first. Her face went pale. Her hand flew to her throat. "Greg," she whispered. "What are you doing here?" "I was invited, Patricia," he said, "by your daughter." My father looked between them, confused. "Pat, who is this?" Before she could answer, the door opened again. My father's old boss walked in, a tall man with a stern face and a voice like gravel. "Bill," he said, "long time no see." My father's expression shifted from confusion to fear. "Ed, what are you doing here?" "Your daughter invited me. She thought I might have something interesting to share with everyone." The room was growing quiet. People were starting to sense that something was wrong. The chatter faded into whispers. Then Margaret walked in. She was small and gray-haired, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She walked straight to me and took my hands. "Emma," she said, "I'm so sorry for what happened. I'm sorry I didn't do more." "You're here now, Margaret," I said. "That's what matters." And then the door opened one last time. Derek walked in, and behind him, holding his hand, was a little girl with brown hair and blue eyes. She was 8 years old. She was wearing a purple dress and white sandals. She looked like me. She looked exactly like me at that age. Lily, my heart stopped. For 7 years, I had imagined this moment. I had dreamed it, feared it, longed for it. And now here she was, my daughter, my baby. She was so tall. Her hair was so long. Her eyes were the same eyes I had seen in that faded photograph, but older now, wiser. She looked around the room with a mixture of shyness and curiosity. "Lily," I said, and my voice broke. I fell to my knees in front of her. "Lily, it's Mommy." She looked at Derek. Derek nodded. Then she looked back at me. She did not run to me. She did not smile. She just stood there, studying my face. "My dad said you wanted to see me," she said. Her voice was soft. Careful. "Yes, baby, I've wanted to see you every day for 7 years." My mother stepped forward. "Emma, what is all this? What are these people doing here? Why is Derek here? Why is Lily here? This is not appropriate. This is a wedding rehearsal." I stood up. I wiped my tears, and I turned to face the room. "You're right, Mom," I said. "This is a wedding rehearsal. And before I marry Marcus, I want to make sure everyone here knows the truth. The real truth. Not the version you and Dad have been telling for years. The truth about Lily. The truth about what you did." The room was completely silent now. Even the waiters had stopped moving. 7 years ago," I said, my voice steady and clear, "I lost my daughter, not because I was a bad mother. Not because I was unstable. Not because I was a danger to her. I lost her because my parents, the 2 people who were supposed to protect me, helped my ex-husband steal her from me." My mother gasped. "That is not true." "Really, Mom?" I pulled out a folder from my bag. A folder that contained copies of the affidavits, the emails, the court documents Marcus had found. "Then explain these. Explain why you and Dad signed sworn statements saying I had threatened to flee the country with Lily. Explain why you told the court I had a drinking problem. Explain why you told them I was seeing a psychiatrist for violent tendencies." My father's face was red. "We were trying to help you." "Help me?" I laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "You gave my daughter to a man who had never spent a full day alone with her. You gave her to a man who once locked me in a closet because I burned his dinner. You gave her to a man who broke my wrist when I was pregnant because I asked him to come home before midnight. You knew what he was, you knew, and you still chose him over me." The room erupted. People were talking, shouting, crying. My mother was sobbing. My father was trying to explain, his words tumbling out in a jumbled mess. Derek was backing toward the door, but Marcus's brother, a large man named Paul, blocked his way. "You're not leaving," Paul said. Derek looked at me, his eyes wide with fear. "You said you just wanted to see her. You said—" "I lied," I said. "Just like you lied about me, just like my parents lied about me. Tonight, the truth comes out." I turned to Greg. "Greg, tell everyone about you and my mother." Greg cleared his throat. He looked uncomfortable, but he spoke. "Patricia and I had an affair. For about 6 months, 20 years ago. She told me she was unhappy in her marriage. She told me Bill was cold and distant. I didn't know she had a daughter. I didn't know any of this would happen. But your daughter asked me to come, and I thought it was time to tell the truth." My mother collapsed into a chair, her face buried in her hands. My father stared at her, his mouth open. Pat, he said, is that true? She did not answer. She did not have to. Her silence was answer enough. Then I turned to Ed, my father's old boss. Ed, tell everyone why you fired my father. Ed stepped forward. He looked at my father with contempt. Bill embezzled money from the company, not a lot but enough. A few $100s here and there. He thought no one would notice. But I noticed. I fired him. I should have pressed charges, but I was young and stupid, and I felt sorry for his family. I've regretted it ever since. He's a thief. He always has been. My father's red face turned white. He looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw real fear in his eyes. Emma, please, not like this. Not like what, Dad? I asked. Not in front of people, not in public. You had no problem telling the world I was an unfit mother. You had no problem lying under oath. You had no problem destroying my life in front of a judge. So yes, like this. Then I turned to Margaret. Margaret, tell everyone what really happened during my supervised visits. Margaret stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the silent room. I was the social worker assigned to Emma's case. I watched her with Lily for 6 months. Emma was a good mother. She was patient, loving, attentive. She brought toys. She read stories. She sang songs. There was no indication that she posed any threat to her daughter. But Derek's lawyer threatened to sue the agency if I wrote a favorable report. And my supervisor told me to write a neutral report. Not negative, but not positive either. It was enough for the judge to end the visits. I have carried that guilt with me every day. I am so sorry, Emma. I walked to Margaret and hugged her. Thank you for telling the truth. Then I turned to Derek. He was standing against the wall, holding Lily's hand. Lily looked scared. She did not understand what was happening. She was just a little girl, caught in a storm she did not create. Derek, I said, you have one chance. One, you are going to call your lawyer tomorrow morning, and you are going to tell him that you are dropping all custody orders. You are going to agree to joint custody. You are going to let me see my daughter. You are going to let me be her mother. If you do not, I will take everything I have learned tonight, and I will go to the press. I will go to every news station, every newspaper, every social media platform. I will tell the world what you did, and I will make sure your family's precious reputation is destroyed forever. Derek's face was a mask of fury and fear. You can't do that, you don't have the evidence. Oh, but I do. I held up the folder. Copies of everything, and I have witnesses, a room full of witnesses. You are finished, Derek. The only question is whether you go quietly or screaming. He looked at Lily. He looked at me. And for the first time in 7 years, I saw something in his eyes that looked like defeat. Fine, he said, the word barely a whisper. Joint custody, but I want. You don't get to want anything, I said. You get to do what I say, or you get to lose everything, your choice. He nodded, then he looked at Lily. Come on, Lily, we're leaving. No, I said. Lily stays. With me, tonight, you can pick her up tomorrow. Derek opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. He knew he had lost. He walked out of the room alone, the door swinging shut behind him. Lily looked up at me. Her blue eyes were wide. Are you really my mommy? I knelt down again. I took her small hands in mine. Yes, baby, I am really your mommy, and I am so sorry I wasn't there for you, but I am here now. And I am never leaving you again. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around my neck. She hugged me. My daughter hugged me. And I held her so tightly, so carefully, as if she might disappear if I let go. The room was still silent, but now the silence was different. It was not the silence of shock or horror. It was the silence of something healing. Marcus came to stand beside me. He put his hand on my shoulder. Emma, he said softly. Are you okay? I looked up at him. I was crying again, but these were different tears. These were the tears of someone who had been lost and was finally found. I am now, I said. Then I turned to my parents. My mother was still crying. My father was staring at the floor. They looked small. Old, broken. Mom, Dad. My voice was quiet but firm. You are not welcome at my wedding tomorrow. You are not welcome in my life. I will send someone to collect your things from my apartment. If you try to contact me, I will file a restraining order. You are dead to me, just like I was dead to you when you gave away my daughter. My mother reached for me. Emma, please, we love you. We made a mistake. You made a choice, I said, and now you get to live with it. I took Lily's hand. I took Marcus's hand, and I walked out of the banquet hall. I did not look back. The wedding happened the next day. It was small, just Marcus's family, a few close friends, and Lily. She wore a white flower in her hair. She sat in the front row. When the minister said, "You may kiss the bride," she clapped her little hands together and laughed. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Marcus and I have been married for 3 years now. Lily lives with us half the time. The other half, she stays with Derek. It is not perfect. Derek still tries to make things difficult. But he knows I am watching. He knows I have the evidence. He knows that one wrong move and I will destroy him. My parents tried to reach out for a while. Letters, phone calls. My mother showed up at my door once, crying, begging for forgiveness. I closed the door in her face. Some wounds are too deep for forgiveness. Some betrayals cannot be undone. I still have the photograph, the one of Lily in the purple sandbox, but I do not keep it under my bed anymore. It is on my nightstand, in a silver frame, next to a newer photograph of Lily at my wedding, wearing that white flower in her hair. Some people say revenge is not the answer. They say it makes you as bad as the people who hurt you. Maybe they are right, but I do not feel bad. I feel free. I feel strong. I feel like the mother I was always meant to be. My name is Emma. I am a wife. I am a mother. And I am the woman who destroyed her parents at her wedding rehearsal. I do not regret it, not for one single second. Because some stories do not end with forgiveness. Some stories end with justice. And sometimes, justice looks like a little girl in a purple dress, reaching for her mother's hand, finally coming home.